Yo, yo, yo! What is up, everyone? 大家好. This is your host, Peter Hung, and today you are tuning in for the second episode of the Improving Your English Speaking podcast. All right, so let's just get right into it. And as you know, this podcast is right off the top. In rap terms, it means it's freestyle, right? Not the new freestyle, but the old freestyle where nothing was written down, nothing was practiced. Everything is created off the top of my head, on the go, as you can say. So if you hear me stumbling, mumbling, blah, 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 a little bit, then, well, too bad. Because, hey, it's very difficult to just keep talking for a very long time without messing up. But we're going to do our best. So let's get right into it. All right. So we all know why you're here, right? You want to improve your English. Now, English, in terms of, let's say, the TOEFL test, right? Because many of you guys need to take a TOEFL test, whether you want to apply for graduate school in the United States or you want to get licensed in the United States, whether you want to just show everyone, 你可以讲英文就像美国人 you can speak English as well as some native person, right? You separate yourself from the rest of the pack, from the rest of the people that you know. And deep inside, you know that, okay, my English is better than theirs. Not to brag or anything, right? But, you can say that, well, there's one main reason why mine is better, because I listen to Peter Hung's podcast. But okay. So you just need to improve your English for whatever reason, right? So, okay, and you need to take the TOEFL test. Now, what does the TOEFL test consist of? What sections do they have that test your knowledge, test your abilities, test your skills? Well, there are only 4 of them. So let's go over them, right? First one is reading. Okay. Second one is listening. Okay. Third one is writing. And the last one, the most famous one, 最有名的, right, is speaking. Okay, now, so today we're gonna talk about the difficulty of each section for, let's say, Chinese speakers, and why that is the case. And we're gonna rank them, and then we're gonna figure out, why the hardest one is the highest in demand. Basically, people need help with it the most. Okay, so let's get right into it. So now, before we do that, we have to break down the Chinese language and how it works, because when we understand how the Chinese language consists of, then we understand how the Chinese speaker thinks and how they were raised, how they were basically how they grew up to understand the Chinese language. Okay, fair enough. So Chinese, right? It is basically the opposite of English language. Now, why is that? Okay, well, there are several reasons. So, first one is each Chinese word is like a picture, 图片, right? And each word has meaning. and you can put, a couple words together and they might, come up with a different meaning, but each word has their own meaning, right? Now, if you take the English word, each word consists of many letters using the English alphabet, right? So let's say the word bad, BAD, right? That's one word, but it has 3 English letters. 3 of them add together means 不好, 坏, right? But when you have, let's say, a Chinese word, let's just say fire, right? You have a picture of, this fire, and then it's called 火, right? But that is only that is one picture, and it consists of strokes, right? But you can't, or the word that you see is not the alphabet. So you don't see FIRE. You don't see the Chinese version of their alphabet that gives that word their tonal sounds, how it's pronounced, right? You don't see that. So in Chinese, right, it's for Taiwanese, it would be Bapa Muffa, right? 注音符号. And then for, let's say, mainland China, it would be pinyin. So now let's break these down real quick, right? So Bapa Muffa they have their own set of unique characters, also like the English alphabet, right? And then they use 4 tonal sounds. So the you have 4 different one of them, and then you add it up, and then you know how it's spoken. Now, in the younger ages, let's say you're reading a book, right? They would include the 注音符号, the Bapa Muffa, the Chinese alphabet on the side with the Chinese word. So you'll see both, right? But when you get past, like, let's say 2nd or 3rd grade, they take that away because the kids, they've studied enough that they know once they see that word, they know exactly what it is. They don't need to look at the alphabets, and they already know what the word means, and they already know how to say that word. And then, okay, so you don't see the alphabet, right? So you can't really spell that word out if you wanted to search it. So if I see let's say an American sees a Chinese word and they want to search what that means, well, unless if they learn Chinese Bapa Muffa, which it wouldn't even matter because you won't be able to know the Bapa Muffa by just looking at the word, right? So you can't take your cell phone and type the word in. Nowadays, you have this cool thing called Google Translate, and you can actually draw the word, the Chinese word, the strokes, right? And then it'll show up, and you can click it, and then you'll know what that means. But that takes a long time, and it's very hard, right? Compared to, let's say, English, if you see a word that is crazy, right? Let's say I don't know, let's just say robust, right? As long as you know the English letters, you can literally see them, right? As long as you know each one of them and know how to type it in your cell phone or your laptop, you can search that word up. So you just look at the word, right? Robust. You don't know what that means, but you understand the English alphabet. So you type ROBUST. Bam. Okay. And then you can read what that means in Chinese and in English. And then okay, I can learn this, right? Now, with Chinese pinyin, right? It's taking English alphabet letters along with the tonal sounds, and it adds a little bit of a twist in terms of some letters. So, like for example, letter C for Chinese pinyin, it'll give a sound. So, like vegetables, in pinyin it would be CAI, and it's pronounced as cai, cai, cai. See, let's right, which is completely different. If you would just read CAI in English terms, it would be sai, sai, sai. See how it's a little bit different? So, but these Chinese pinyin, they don't show up on the word either. So unless if you know that word and what the Chinese word and what pinyin it consists of, even you cannot really search what that word means. So that's a big difference, right? And then so what I'm trying to say is this. If you're a Chinese person and you know the English alphabet, if you want to learn what vocabulary, like the simple words, what they mean, you can do that on your own with your smartphone very easily. However, if you're an English native and you're trying to learn Chinese, well, your way of inputting, keying in the Chinese word that you want to know, want to learn, is very difficult, right? It's almost impossible. So the time it takes for you to learn the vocab words is way longer. Okay? So that's one. All right, I talked like 13 minutes straight, so I'm gonna get a water break. You just gotta do that sound because it tells you, the water's really good. All right, so now why do I say this? Why do I say all this? Reason being is it relates to determining which which English language section is the easiest and hardest, right? That's what we're talking about. So, because Chinese people can search up English vocab very easily on their own, and they do not need a teacher, they can improve their reading, right? Because reading just consists of passages of words, and as long as you understand the words, what they mean, you should know what the passage is about. So, okay, reading, bam, knocked out of the park. Unless if there are a lot of, unless if it's written by, let's say, Socrates, or you have the Shakespeare, the Romeo and Juliet. Oh, thou shall not perish with thine divine convention or conviction or something. I don't know, but what I'm talking about, the romantic stuff, the Julio and Romeo. Hold on, the Romeo and Juliet. Yeah, that's the right one, right? And unless if you're, if it's something like, Stephen Hawking's, where the theory of the black hole, and got all these weird scientific terms and how they're writing it, and it's just so confusing. Those most people don't understand, right? But if you're talking about just the common, English language, it's easy to read and understand. Okay, so now we got that out of the way. Okay, hold on. I have to think a little bit, okay? Remember, this is a freestyle. This is a freestyle podcast. All right. So, reading is easy. So, okay. So usually Chinese people don't have problem reading. They can understand. If you type to them in English, saying uh I want to take you out for some sushi, or let's go watch the latest movie, right? They'll understand that. They can understand that. Now, whether they respond to you in the correct manner, well, that's a whole different story, see? But we'll talk about that later. Now, okay, so we got reading out the way. So what's the second easiest or hold on. What's uh, the second in terms of what is easier or what is a little bit harder than reading, but as not so hard as the hardest, right? Oh my gosh, I'm messing this up. Somebody help me out. Okay. So the second one is kind of difficult to determine, to decide which one it is, right? But I would have to say that it is listening, right? So why do I say it's listening? Well, here are many reasons. So one, listening to people is, or in terms of test taking, right, is more of a one way traffic. So you're listening for the let's say the test passage. You need to understand what you're listening to. But you just need to understand it and fill out the right answer on the test for the most part. So it's a one way thing. You don't have to express what they say, right? So in listening is much easier than speaking for a long time. That's why people can sit through, hours and hours of lectures and be fine with that. But if you tell everyone to give their own version of a lecture, to give a long speech, then oh man, sorry, I can't do that. 太难了, too difficult, So listening in comparison is much easier. It's relaxing. You don't have to try that much, you know. You just have to pull out the earwax out of your ears and then you can listen. Another thing is it it is a part of entertainment. Okay, so let's say YouTube videos, let's say movies, let's say TV shows, right? You all need to listen to hear it. And then there's also, music involved and you're happy, you're cheering, woo, It's very fun. It's entertainment. And then another thing that makes it extra special is the existence of subtitles. Now, usually in United States, subtitles are not used in, let's say, movie theaters or in a lot of YouTube videos. because people just assume, they just figure, they just think that the audience, the listener, knows what is being spoken, right? They just think that, oh, the audience can hear the words and understand it. They don't need to see the spelling of the word. Unless if it's some like, weird made up language or, tribal language, and it's like something like that, then they put subtitles because no one understands that, okay? So, but usually they don't use subtitles. Now, on the other hand, right? Chinese media, Chinese entertainment, they love that stuff. They love it. 他们超喜欢把什么大家讲的字都放在那个 screen 上面，然后什么 special effect. Oh, look at this font. It's so cute, They love to use subtitles on everything. Every single thing. So, Chinese people have access to subtitles. And what this does is it helps them understand what they're listening to. And a best example is when they're listening to something in English, right? But some editor was kind enough to type in the Chinese subtitles underneath, or type in the English subtitles. Sometimes they do both. So what this does is it allows the listener to hear what's being said, and if they don't know what is being said, then they can look at the words because their English or their reading skills is the best. So if they can read it, they understand that, and then they attach that to what is being spoken, and boom, you got more knowledge, you got more understanding. So now not only do you know how to read, you know how to listen. You see how that works? Beautiful. Super beautiful. All right. Water break number 2. Give me a second real quick. All right. So listening is not bad, right? Not bad. Unless if you run into people, like I said, who talk like they're very smart, very highly intelligent, and they talk in a super fast manner that you can't even understand or comprehend because they talk super, super, super fast, and they use a lot of high elevated diction that you won't even understand, right? Those people, you just kind of ignore because too much trouble, Or you run into the people with heavy accents. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I do not want to hear you speak. For example, right? I had this Indian chemistry professor when I was studying in university, right? And you know how Indian people are. You know how their accents sound like. I'll demonstrate, It was like, okay, everybody open your textbook to page 35, and we are going to study the chemical reaction of petroleum peroxide sulfurate. Like, what? What are you saying? Like, I know what he's saying, but most people, they're like, no, I don't know what you're saying. It's crazy. The accents is so hard that it's so different from, how most normal people speak that you just can't understand. Now if it's like, like a British accent, then, people understand that. And, the ladies love it. They love the British accent. 哦，英国的帅哥哦，他讲话很漂亮，什么？他讲话很好听哦，他穿的衣服很好看，他很有 style 哦，拜托来结婚，拜托来当我的老公 ，right? If the guy if the guy would say would you like a cup of tea? Oh my goodness, the girls love it. The girls love it. So, there are different accents and some are very difficult to understand. And to let you know, a lot of native speakers, they find those difficult accents hard to understand too. It's not just the foreigners that can understand them. So, okay, listening, not bad. Not bad. Doable. Very doable. Now, the next one. The next one, right? Gets a little bit tricky, but let's just call it how it is. It's writing. It's writing. Okay, so oh man, writing. Now, why is writing easier than, let's say, the last one? You already know what the last one is. I mean, you just cancel out. You just cross out what I said already. If you're listening, then you would know, right? So it's why is writing easier than speaking? Oh, you want me to explain? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm gonna explain, right? So writing, for the most part, is another one-way thing, right? You don't necessarily need another person to interact with so that your writing will improve. So now you may need like a a writing teacher to, if you want to get really good at writing. But if you if you look at other people's writing and study their patterns, if you look at the rules, if you learn on your own, you can learn how to write pretty decently. And unless if you're writing something like Shakespeare stuff, the very high level of writing, a lot of American people cannot write in that high of a manner either. For me personally, I've always struggled with writing because it's just something that I do not like. Because you want to say one thing and you can say it in so many ways, and you have to pay attention to like 5,000 stuff. And if it's assignment, you want to try to write it in the best way possible, so you spend lots of time trying to edit it. But if it's like speaking, if you're speaking with someone else, there's no you can't really edit what you say. You have to just say it and it's done, because it's on the fly, it's on the go, it's kind of timed essentially. You go back and forth with, when you're talking with other person, they don't give you time to kind of edit it. I mean, you can rephrase what you're trying to say or explain what you're saying, but other than that, there's no thinking, there's no like preparation time, not as much anyways. So okay, let me get another water break real quick. So it's more of a one-way thing. And the lovely thing about English writing is that for the most part, most people can write in a way that the reader can understand. It might have a lot of grammatical errors, like grammar issues. The sentence might look messed up, but it's fairly easy, to get the basic gist of what the writer is trying to say. So, and also, with spelling the words, we already set up that, you know, the reading helps with that. The reading helps with that. So, writing shouldn't be as big of a problem, right? It is very hard still. It's the third hardest because there are a lot of grammar, there are a lot of different words you can use to portray or to, to say something that you want to say. You have a lot of words that mean the same thing, but they have different spellings. And it's insane how many rules there are how to write. Writing is more of a creative process. So that's why it is still very hard to do. What's even worse is if you're timed. If you're timed to write, that is extremely hard. Now on the TOEFL, you are timed to write. So this is why it could be really hard. But you have more leeway. You have more safety. You are safer because you have a little bit more time to think, to prepare. And from personal experience, people's writing is usually better than speaking, and we already went over why. So, they might run into trouble with speaking, but writing not so bad. Okay. So, we've gone through 3 of them. Now, what's the last one? The last one is speaking. Yes, speaking is the hardest for Chinese people. Ah, man, speaking. I've been speaking for 33 minutes and it's pretty hard. It is pretty hard. Your throat gets tired. If you're talking with someone else, you gotta listen to them, blah, blah, blah. Oh, today at work, my coworker pissed me off because she did this and did that. And I was just trying to, relax and do my own thing, but she dragged me into it. And then when I was buying something, the cashier was being mean to me and she was giving me attitude. And you gotta listen to all that, right? And then you gotta respond. So what I'm trying to say is speaking for a lot of time is a two-way interaction, a two-way thing. And unless if you're like me, talking to this podcast, talking to this microphone, no one in front of me, no one to stop me, to interrupt me, then you're talking with, someone else. And unless if you're giving a speech, a big speech, then you're talking to someone else, right? So speaking requires someone else to practice. It's very hard to talk to a wall, to talk to a little doll, because, well, people will think you're crazy. People think I'm crazy, and, well, damn, they're right. I can't blame them, right? Anyways, so you need someone to practice with, and that's what people have difficulty with because number one, how do they find that, pretty good looking person to talk with and are willing to speak with them and who can speak in a native way, right? Who has the patience, who has the knowledge, who has the dedication to help improve their English. Where can they find someone like that? Did is it me? I mean, I don't know. I mean, could be, but I didn't say anything about that, right? So, anyways, hold on. I just gotta text messages. Okay, and now I have to go. So we're gonna pause this real quick, and we're gonna come back and keep talking.